Welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Step right into our digital studio, because today we are putting on the examiner's lens to completely deconstruct a topic that appears in every single examination series for Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 9706. We're talking about the books of prime entry, the sales, purchases, and returns journals, the cash book, and the general journal. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I already know what a debit and a credit is. But mastering this, it is not just about basic bookkeeping. It's about understanding the deep structural financial architecture of a business. If you're aiming for those absolute top-tier grades, you have to know exactly what the examiner is looking for when they mark your paper. We are going to decode the examiner's mind, dissect complex questions, and master the exact critical thinking strategies you need. Let's dive right in.
So, here is the million-dollar question. Why do so many incredibly smart, well-prepared students completely lose their method marks in the specific area? It's a massive roadblock. To understand this, I want you to imagine two students I work with in my coaching sessions. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical, right? Alex excels at formulas and facts, but really struggles with open-ended evaluation. Then there's Sam. Sam is a creative thinker, strong at building arguments, but completely struggles with structural precision and time management. Both of them drop critical marks when faced with a high-tariff 9 to 15-mark question involving complex, multi-stage analysis. Why? Because Cambridge exams don't just test your final answer, they test your journey to that answer. It all starts with command word analysis. You have to deeply contrast command words. What's the difference between analyze and evaluate? What about explain versus to what extent? If I take my digital highlighter right now and isolate a command word on a prompt, I can tell you that analyze is asking you to break down the mechanics, whereas evaluate demands a final, reasoned judgment. When you are dealing with the cash book or the general journal, the process is precisely where the points live. If your final calculated figure is wrong because of one tiny arithmetic error early on, but your method and layout are structurally perfect, you can still salvage the majority of the marks. That's the method mark strategy. You lose these marks when you rely purely on mental math or scattered scratchpad work instead of laying out a clear, step-by-step audit trail.
Look at this quote straight from the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. This is the ultimate insider secret. Candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. Listen, isolated knowledge is a complete trap. You might know how to record a sales return perfectly in a vacuum, but the examiner wants to see if you understand how that single entry ripples through the entire accounting system. How does it impact control accounts? How does it affect the final statement of profit or loss? How does it influence inventory valuation? Top candidates don't just see a single journal entry, they see the entire web of causal relationships. They are actively demonstrating high-level integrated syllabus knowledge. This is exactly how you unlock the top marking bands across all assessment objectives, or AOs. AO1 for knowledge, AO2 for application, and the holy grail AO3 for analysis and evaluation.
Here is the roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Core principles and theory. 2. The method mark strategy. 3. Critical analysis for top marks. 4. Top 3 examiner traps. And 5. Ultimate exam strategy check. Let's get moving.
Section 1. Core principles and theory. Let's define the core architecture. Books of prime entry are the foundational accounting records relying on precise definitions, causal relationships, and cross-syllabus integration. These aren't just lists of numbers, guys. They are the bedrock of reliable financial reporting. Whether it's the purchases journal capturing credit buys or the cash book acting simultaneously as a ledger account and a prime entry book, every single transaction must be classified with absolute precision. You absolutely must understand the causal relationship. First, a transaction occurs supported by a source document, then it's entered into a book of prime entry, and only then is it posted to the ledgers. Think back to our students, Alex and Sam, in a collaborative digital study suite. Alex looks at this and says, okay, I'll just memorize the definitions of the journals. That's enough for AO1 knowledge. But Sam chimes in and correctly points out, wait, no, we have to look at the cross-syllabus integration. We have to understand why the cash book acts as both a journal and a ledger. That's the level of systematic analysis you need.
The crucial difference here lies between isolated knowledge and cross-topic connections. Let's listen in on Alex and Sam debating how to lay out an essay response on this very topic. Alex pushes for a purely factual approach, arguing that simply stating that a credit sale goes in the sales journal will score the marks. That is basic, isolated knowledge. But Sam counters, arguing for a broader conceptual perspective. Sam says if we want to hit AO3, we have to show that a credit sale not only updates the sales journal, but immediately impacts the trade receivables control account, affects the provision for doubtful debts, and shifts the current ratio. And Sam is totally right. There are moments where they challenge each other's interpretations, but this is how you unlock top-tier marks. The examiner is hunting for these connections. They want you to step back and say, if the cash book is poorly maintained, here is the massive domino effect it has on the business's working capital management and external audit.
Section 2. The Method Mark Strategy. Now, right before we tackle the absolute hardest part of this multi-stage problem, I need to pause our session for a quick second. Crushing these Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy, week in and week out. So do yourself a huge favor right now. Subscribe to our channel, Ace the Exams IGCSE O and A levels. That's at acetheexam_IGCSE. And hit that notification bell so you never miss a weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategy. Okay, let's get back into it. Look at Alex and Sam actively drafting a model response on screen, paragraph by paragraph. They're doing great, but suddenly they hit a massive roadblock regarding formatting and paragraph linking. I'm going to step in here and explain the cognitive strategy to get unstuck. To lock in procedural method points, you must follow these 4 strict conventions. Step 1. Proper headings. Drawing a T account or a column journal without a clear, specific heading bleeds marks instantly. Step 2. Correct terminology. Don't ever write bought goods, write purchases. Don't write money in, write bank or cash. Professional vocabulary signals competence. Step 3. Appropriate formats. Are you using a 2-column or 3-column cash book? Is the discount column handled correctly as a memorandum column? Format matters immensely. And step 4, clear annotation. Bring your workings down into your final answer space and label them clearly. By applying these rules, Alex and Sam just rewrote their flawed section out loud, transitioning from a mediocre answer to a flawless, full-mark response. Structure your answers so the examiner has literally no choice but to award you every single method mark.
Section 3. Critical Analysis for Top Marks. Welcome to our interactive Pause and Practice Visual Workshops segment. I want you to picture a complex data chart right here on our digital smartboard. Imagine a 60-second visual countdown timer has just started ticking. The question asks you to evaluate the impact. There is a massive scoring difference between identifying similarities and identifying differences here. Analyze means breaking down the information to understand its mechanics, often looking for similarities. But evaluate requires you to make a judgment. True comparative analysis demands highlighting both similarities and stark differences using comparative connectives like whereas or conversely. And here's the kicker. You must back up every single claim with hard evidence from the stimulus data on the board. You can't just throw out a generic statement like, the general journal is useful. No way. You have to specify that it is absolutely crucial in the given scenario because it corrects a specific $4,000 error of principle, whereas the cash book is entirely unaffected by that non-cash transaction. That is how you analyze data under pressure.
Let's move to scene 2 of our workshop, Spot the Flaw. I'm putting a poorly written student answer on the screen. Can you spot the 3 massive errors? Evaluative thinking, which fixes these errors, relies on 3 core pillars. First, question assumptions. The student wrote that the business is thriving because the cash balance is high. But wait, a high balance in the cash book might just mean they sold off a vital non-current asset to survive, or they are dangerously delaying payables. Second, consider different perspectives. You need to look at the data from the viewpoint of a shareholder versus a short-term creditor. Third, justify decisions with evidence. If you recommend a change in how they record prime entries to reduce fraud, tie it directly back to a specific data point. Top-scoring scholars construct airtight arguments rather than just listing off random facts.
Section 4. Top 3 Examiner Traps. Brace yourselves. There are exactly 3 fatal errors in exam methodology that completely trap even the most brilliant, well-prepared scholars every single year. Let's systematically highlight and annotate these right now so you never, ever fall into these traps.
Trap number 1. Wrong approach for context. This classic mistake happens when you apply a standard textbook formula to a uniquely nuanced scenario. For example, treating a trade discount as a cash discount in the books of prime entry. You must read the specific terms of trade given in the prompt. Trap number 2. Ignoring presentation formats. Examiners repeatedly state in their reports that students lose the easiest marks by failing to balance off accounts properly, failing to bring down balances, or just completely forgetting to use proper dates. Dates are absolutely critical in prime entry. Trap number 3. Generic, non-specific answers. This is the ultimate examiner alert. If your written explanation could apply to literally any business in the world, it scores 0 in an evaluation question. You have to use the name of the business, quote specific dollar amounts from their journals, and link every single point back to their unique given scenario.
Section 5. Ultimate Exam Strategy Check. Let's synthesize this entire masterclass into 3 core, memorable pillars to tackle any high-tariff question flawlessly under strict time pressure.
Pillar 1 is the 3-step question scan. First, you deconstruct the question by circling the command word. Second, you extract data, combing through the stimulus for hidden constraints like dates or returns. Third, you select the framework, deciding exactly which journals you need before writing a single number. Pillar 2 is the paragraph balance formula. This is where you execute and verify. You do the mechanics, but you constantly pause to balance your arguments. Does the total of the sales journal match the entry in the sales account? Are you balancing similarities with differences? Pillar 3 is the last 5 minutes review checklist. This is where you present terminology. In those final 5 minutes, review your work. Did you use proper headings? Did you back your evaluations with specific evidence? Following this systematic pipeline completely replaces exam panic with absolute precision. Let's check back in with Alex and Sam. They just shared a huge personal breakthrough from this session. They realized that when they hit a massive roadblock mid-exam and their minds go totally blank, they can use the visual story method to get unstuck. Don't just look at dry numbers on a page, visualize the physical reality of the business. Imagine the delivery truck pulling up and dropping off the goods. That physical piece of paper is your source document. Imagine the invoice being written up and logged meticulously in the purchases journal. Then imagine the actual money leaving the bank account a month later, which gets recorded in the cash book. By encoding these complex, multi-stage relationships as a sequential visual story, you can instantly recall where a transaction belongs and how it flows through the entire accounting ecosystem. It is an incredibly powerful cognitive tool for maintaining structural precision when that exam clock is furiously ticking down.
We've decoded the methodologies, we've broken down the examiner traps, and we've built a bulletproof strategy. But remember, the true test lies beyond the exam hall. If a single misplaced entry in the books of prime entry can unravel an entire corporate audit, you have to ask yourself, are you merely recording numbers, or are you mastering the financial architecture of a real business? Crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy. So before you go, hit that subscribe button. For Ace the Exams, IGCSE, O, and A levels, that's at Ace the Exam, IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you get all our future exam hacks, and leave a comment below right now with your target grade. I want to see what you are aiming for. Keep practicing those past papers, and I'll see you in the next explainer.